Hello and welcome to the FanDuel Punch-Out. I'm Big Italy 42 here talking about tonight's slate, and it's a big one, as it is always on Tuesdays. We've got 15 games on the tab tonight, so without further ado, I'll go ahead and get into things here because we've got a lot to talk about. Starting off at starting pitcher, I think the chalk play of the day, my favorite play of the day, and I know many others as well. Steven Strasburg, $10,000. He's been incredible since his return from injury. He's gone 20 innings. He's struck out 25 batters, walked just 2, got 2 wins, just 12 hits total. One of those games at Coors Field, one of them at the Giants. I mean, he's done it against good competition. Tonight he gets some bad competition, and the San Diego Padres, who they've been better over the past week, but I guess past few weeks, but still not a very good offense, not a consistent offense. And Strasburg, when he gets it going, we know he has stuff that's as good as anyone in baseball. So love him at $10,000. I think he's going to be the guy you're looking at in cash games for the most part. Jake Arrieta has been absolutely tremendous recently. I believe he's only given up 2 earned runs in all of August. Last time I saw a stat on that this morning. He's been pitching 6+ innings every single game, giving you a quality start. I believe he has 12 straight quality starts here. So you got to like him. You love the ballpark, 6.5 run total. You don't love the matchup against the Giants. And that price tag, $11,200. So for me, I do like him. I just slightly prefer Strasburg at the discount, especially. Dallas Keuchel is an interesting GBP option for me tonight. Had his best performance of the season, actually, against this Yankees team. Went complete game, shutout, 6 hits, 12 Ks. You certainly are not chasing those type of numbers, but he's the type of guy who could put up a good performance at Yankee Stadium because he excels in all of the right areas. He does a great job keeping the ball on the ground, 59.6% ground ball rate on the season, 0.52 home runs per 9. Hard hit rate of just 20%. So this is a guy that does not give up hard contact. He does not let the ball get hit in the air. I mean, his fly ball rate on the season is 23.1%. So you don't get the ball in the air very much against this guy. So it doesn't really matter how short the porch is at Yankee Stadium if you're not getting the ball in the air. So I love him in tournaments only. Noah Syndergaard, another great option up top, $10,800 against Philly. Philly is the ace killer. So I don't know if you can say that Syndergaard is an ace yet, but they got the Greinke, they got the DeGrom. Both those guys had 2 of their worst performances of the season now against these guys. But this is still not a great offense. Mostly AAA caliber hitters right now in this lineup. So definitely a guy I'll still be targeting. Jaime Garcia continues to pitch very well, $8,800. With so many other great options, though, I won't be playing him at Arizona. This is a team that's very good against left-handed pitching. And he does a great job of keeping the ground, but I'm looking for more upside tonight because I feel like a lot of these pitchers are going to have good games. Another interesting one, Nate Karns. Not a guy that pitches deep into games, but a guy that's effective. He strikes out a decent amount of batters. Minnesota, the worst road offense in all of baseball, so I think Nate Karns is a decent option. You don't love his $8,200 price tag, but should be a lower-owned guy, especially with all these big, great spots on tonight. Another guy, Wade Miley. I'm not a fan of Wade Miley, as you know. Last 2 performances, he's gone 7+ innings, 14 total Ks there, 2 wins. This is a very hot Red Sox offense he's got behind him. They're facing off against the lefty today, so you don't like that quite as much as you would against a righty. But Wade Miley's pitched very well, and this is a White Sox team that, outside of Jose Abreu, has been horrible against left-handed pitching. So tournament option for you there at $7,400. And then as you're looking at cheap guys, Josh Tomlin, $5,700, has pitched very well since his return. 13 1/3 innings, 11 Ks, 2 walks, 7 hits, 3 earned runs, all of them coming via home runs, solo home runs actually. But, you know, this is a matchup against a Milwaukee team that is in the bottom 3 in ISO and team WOBA and runs scored over the past 30 days. So this is a very bad offense right now. And obviously a park shift going to Cleveland from their comfortable home at Miller Park. So I think he's an interesting option as well. That's mostly the guys that I'm looking at here. Other guys all really tournament options for me and nobody that really stands out. Moving over here to catcher. As always, we got quite a few options. Travis d'Arnaud had a monster game last night. Now, actually 2 big games in a row. He's homered now in 3 of his last 6. $3,100 for him. And this is a guy who's facing off against Jerome Williams, who, as we know, horrible against lefties and righties. 407 WOBA to righties this year. Travis d'Arnaud, probably my favorite option at catcher. You got some other guys who are bigger names. Guys like Russell Martin, who is dealing with a sore hamstring right now. If he's in, you got to like him at $2,500. He hasn't been hitting particularly well. Maybe that's part of his struggles that he's had at the plate due to that as well. If he's not, you assume Dioner Navarro will be in there, $2,300. 2 cheap pieces of that Toronto offense at Texas, so definitely a spot that I'd like to get a piece of if I can. Wellington Castillo got hits lefties very well. Mentioned that Jaime Garcia has been good, though, but Castillo's been mashing them. 3 straight multi-hit games, back-to-back games with a homer. You know I love him. Looking his way a little bit there as well. And as you're looking at cheaper guys, there's really not a lot of guys you love. Miguel Montero, if he's in the lineup, he's had homers in back-to-back games, 2,800 against Matt Cain, who's allowing a 433 WOBA to lefties. Victor Martinez, I continue to play him at now $2,700. Jared Weaver, just not a good pitcher. Martinez not hitting particularly well, though, but I think he's much better hitter than that price indicates. And then your cheapest guy that I would really be looking at is a guy like Sal Perez, $2,400 against Miguel Gonzalez. Flyball pitcher, gives up too many home runs there. First base options, I mean, I got a list about a mile long here today. There's quite a few guys in some good spots. You have guys like Chris Davis, who has cooled off a little bit recently, but has actually hit lefties very well this season. $4,500. He's a great tournament option. Anthony Rizzo, another guy that you want to play in your cash games, but at $4,500 at San Francisco, not a great spot. But like I mentioned, Matt Cain is struggling with lefties, so you got to like him there as well. Paul Goldschmidt is another tournament guy, Arizona, facing Jaime Garcia. I think Jose Abreu is about the highest I'm paid up in cash games. Excuse me. Against Wade Miley here. You look at his logs over his last 10 games, he has 3 homers, 6 doubles, finally producing at the level we expected he would earlier this season, so you got to like him. Eric Hosmer is another guy that I like, facing off against Miguel Gonzalez, and Miguel Gonzalez, I mentioned, fly ball pitcher, 353 WOBA allowed to lefties this year, so great spot for him, $3,700. I think he's in a fine spot. Freddie Freeman, another one of these guys, $3,200. Back and forth off the DL, but I think he's a great cash game play at $3,200 against Chad Bettis, who has been pretty awful overall. I mean, he's given up a 311 WOBA to lefties, which isn't terrible, but I do like Freddie Freeman in the spot at home. As you're looking for cheaper options, really not a whole lot that really stands out. One guy I'll give you that's cheap that I'm looking at for tournaments, Justin Bour against Charlie Morton. Charlie Morton's actually pitching very well recently, but as we know, his biggest weakness is left-handed batters, 364 WOBA allowed. So if you're targeting any of these Miami guys, which I won't be targeting many, they got to be the left-handed batters because he's very tough on righties. Second base options, I love Jason Kipnis at his current price here, $3,200. He's been just about the most expensive second baseman all season long. Came back from the injury, has struggled a little bit, but another guy who struggles with lefties, Willie Peralta. Throughout his career, been really bad against lefties, 364 WOBA this season. I think that's way too cheap for price for Kipnis. Probably a guy I'll be having in my cash games if I can afford him. Got some other good options. Anthony Rendon has been on fire finally after that slow start after he returned, $3,500 for him. He's in a good spot. Daniel Murphy, another guy against Jerome Williams. He just continues to crush the ball right now. This guy's got 5 doubles and 2 home runs in his last 5 games. Absolutely locked in. $4,100 though. Going to be tough to fit in your cash games. You got Brian Dozier against Nate Carnes, righty-righty matchup. Dozier still in for power, but has been awful overall. Barely hitting 200 right now over the past month. So he's a guy that's a tournament-only option for me, sadly, despite that price. A couple other guys to look at here down cheaper. Brandon Phillips had another big game last night. If you're not a believer in Alex Wood, $2,900, not a bad option for him there. Excuse me. Another guy that's really interesting, Enrique Hernandez, Kike Hernandez, whatever you want to call him. This is a guy who is absolutely crushing left-handed pitchers. In fact, he'd be up there among the league leaders against lefties if he was qualified this season. So you're certainly looking his way. A couple other guys to consider. Chris Coughlin is another one. Recently got that second base eligibility about a week ago. Another lefty against Matt Cain. I do expect the Cubs to continue to score runs because Cain has been bad. So that's another guy that I'm looking at. Really nobody incredibly cheap that stands out. I mean, you could look at a guy like Scooter Gennett against Josh Tomlin. He's been hitting fairly well recently, homered in his last game, but Tomlin's also been pitching well. So I think if you're going cheap, that's probably the way you're going, but I like a lot of these slightly more expensive guys much better today. Third base options, Josh Donaldson is $6,200. I mean, he probably should be $6,200. All this guy has done in his last 5 games, 3 homers, 4 doubles, and 11 hits. So, and that's including an 0 for 4 game. So Josh Donaldson, I mean, it's he and Mike Trout for MVP right now, and he's probably got my vote. It's been absolutely incredible. Going to be tough, though. There's no way you're getting him in a cash lineup or you're going to destroy your cash lineup putting Josh Donaldson in this, so that's obviously not an option. But tournaments, I do love targeting him when he's this expensive because no one will have him. Get your cheap pitcher, find your cheap stack, stick him in there. Chris Bryant, another guy, he is a righty against Matt Cain, but he's absolutely locked in just like the rest of the Cubs, so you got to be looking his way a little bit at 4,100 as well. Manny Machado against Danny Duffy, who's awful against righties, 3,700 for him. Another Mets player, David Wright, burst right back onto the scene without missing a beat after 4 months off. Hit a homer in his first at-bat, 3,500 for him is a good spot. Kyle Seager, you don't love him against Jesse Chavez, but at 3,300, I think he's an okay option as well. Nick Castellanos homered again last night. He's quietly putting together a really nice season. Should be batting right around 6, and this is finally a healthy lineup, so you like him. And then we got a bunch of guys right around that price. Adrian Beltre against the lefty and Mark Burley in Texas. Got to like him. Burley, a contact pitcher, does not miss many bats. Danny Valencia gets a struggling lefty in Mike Montgomery. You know I love Danny Valencia. He's been absolutely incredible since going over to Oakland. 3,100 for him. $3,000 Derek Dietrich, another guy that's in play. Lefty against Charlie Morton, more of a tournament option for me. And then, of course, I'm going to mention Lonnie Chisenhall, not just because I love Lonnie Chisenhall, but because he's $2,900 and he's a lefty against Willie Peralta. Definitely a route I'm taking. But your chalk play, once again, going to be Todd Frazier. Disappointed last night, 1 for 5 with a run scored. But I think you're going to see quite a bit of him against Alex Wood. He's got a monstrous ISO against lefties. Mike Moustakas, another guy that's locked in at $2,800 against flyball pitcher Miguel Gonzalez. Really not trying to go any cheaper than this, but I'll throw out one more name. Evan Longoria at $2,600. He has not been good, but Irvin Santana has been even worse on the mound. So $2,600 for much better hitter than that price indicates. Shortstop options for tonight. It's quite a few. Johnny Peralta was the chalk last night. Still just $2,400 against lefty and Robbie Ray. It's hard to pass up on him. He's got great numbers, tons of power against lefties. Good spot for him there. Ian Desmond, if you want to pick on James Shields and the struggles with the long ball, if you're paying up. But I think if I'm paying up, I prefer to get guys like Carlos Correa. We know how hard he hits the ball. Got to love him. Troy Tulowitzki against the lefty and Derek Holland at Texas. Finally had a couple decent games recently after struggling for quite a while. Jung Ho Kang's been killing left-handed pitching, and he's been on fire overall. So he gets Brad Hand tonight. You got to be looking his way if you're paying up as well. Jose Reyes, another guy who's hitting well. Mike Fultonwitz, horrible against lefties. I'll get more to that in a minute here. But as far as your cheap options, Eugenio Suarez, another big game. He's just been producing. He's got 4 multi-hit games in his last 5. 2 of those with 3 hits. 3 3-hit games in his last 10. Alex Wood, like I said, he's an okay pitcher, but not a guy I'm going out of my way to avoid. Wilmer Flores, since his explosion last night, has been moved to shortstop. He's obviously in play against Jerome Williams. Everyone's in play against Jerome Williams. So you get a hit. Maybe they get some doubles. Everybody's getting passed around here through as long as Jerome Williams stays in the game. But got to expect this hot offense continues to keep it going tonight. And then you could throw out Jimmy Rollins. John Lamb's a guy that's been striking out quite a bit of batters, but giving up some runs as well. Outfield options, I think Bryce Harper has got to be my top option. James Shields, $375 low, but a lefties. And obviously this game at home, not at Petco. Bryce Harper, as we know, kills righties, so everything going in his favor tonight. Other guys, you got Jose Bautista against the lefty at Texas. He has 2 straight 3-hit games. Homered in his last game, you got to like him. Nelson Cruz always in play. The Pirates guys here, you got Andrew McCutchen. You've got Starling Marte. Even Gregory Polanco, despite the lefty-lefty matchup, he had a monster game last night. Continues to be cash game gold. Lefties, righties, does not matter with him. Got to love all those guys there. The Colorado lefties, Blackman, Gonzalez. Obviously, Blackman, your higher floor. Gonzalez, your higher ceiling. Mentioned they are in a great spot today against Mike Fultonwitz, who is awful against lefties. Carlos Gonzalez did leave last night's game with a sore knee, but they said it seems like more of a precaution. But maybe they give him today off. If they do, obviously you're not playing him, so keep your eyes on that. If he sits, I'm not saying he played Mike Fultonwitz, but certainly that Colorado offense takes a huge hit, missing their best hitter. Rest in peace, Kyle Schwarber's eligibility at catcher. Finally moved to the outfield, $4,200. You like him against Matt Cain, but now you don't get to play him at catcher. Fill out that weak position more often than not. Mike Trout, of course, against Alfredo Simon. Simon, yes, has been good against righties, and Mike Trout has been good against everyone. Not particularly so much recently, but he is a very good hitter. One of the best in the game, as I'm sure you know. Michael Brantley, another lefty from Cleveland, facing off against the righty and Wiley Peralta, who really, really struggles with left-handed bats. Adam Jones gets a lefty at Kansas City, and Danny Duffy, you got to like him tonight. Some other options for you as you scroll down a little bit more. J.D. Martinez against fly ball pitcher Jared Weaver. That might not end well for Weaver. You've got another guy, David Murphy, a lefty. And for the Angels against Alfredo Simon, I mentioned that Simon's good against righties. He is not good against lefties, 371 WOBA allowed. So that means that Murphy at 2,400 and Cole Calhoun, his teammate there, another lefty, $3,300. I love him tonight anytime he faces a bad righty, especially one that struggles with lefties. And then another cheap option, if you're not playing no Syndergaard, Dominic Brown, $2,400. He's got power. He's not a consistent hitter by any means. Don't you dare play him in your cash games, but this guy's got big-time upside and certainly will be low-owned once again tonight. That is going to wrap things up. Thanks for hanging out with me here today. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out all of our great content at dailyfantasycafe.com.